And now, continuing the anniversary special. You know, there are a lot of better stories, which, as long as you're okay with, I will go to the first one after that, which would be number 23, Solving for Death.
What a coincidence. It's
Did
not
you?
Solving for Death for me right here, but
Aw.
I mean, these next two do, switch around, let me just say that.
So Solving for Death, it gets a little nostalgia boost from me because we did read it so early on.
That's true.
But it is really funny.
It is.
That one was just it plays the, I don't know, absurdity really well. Yeah. I would say it is probably the first story that we read that I'd call hilarious.
Yeah. Well, that works because it was the first story we read on the podcast.
That is not true. The first story we read was, Dying to Get There.
Oh, wait. Oh, you're right.
Solving for Death was the one with, Starlight Glimmer resurrecting Twilight Sparkle.
You're right. I will say, I get those two mixed up.
Wah, wah.
I did not in my order, though. I did just get those mixed up, though. All right, are you done with that one?
Yep.
Yeah, 23 is Dying to Get There. Yeah, first story we read. Very fun. Funny. The first laugh out loud story we read. No, I really enjoyed it. A lot. Not much to say about it, though. It was just happy first time reading. Hallelujah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much to say about that one, though. So 22 is Solving for Death. I did think that this one was solid number 22 on the list. It was funny. It was so absurd as well. You know what? Dying to Get There and Solving for Death are very similar in a lot of ways, which I suppose is why they're kind of interchangeable and one after the other on this one.
I will say that Solving for Death has the character of Spike being the realistic one. I feel like that's why I would put it one of the reasons that I put it so high.
Yeah, I mean, if Spike wasn't in there, and you know me, I love Spike. If he wasn't in there, this wouldn't have been as good. But thankfully, it was as good as it was. And I enjoyed it for all the reasons that you presented, possibly even more.
Okay. But my 22 this is another one that I just paired with the episode that we combined the stories on. The Brief Reign of Princess Twily. That one was probably a little less funny than Solving for Death, but the cuteness points boost it higher.
Interesting thing. I think in the episode, I could be getting this wrong. I did re-listen to this episode once, but I haven't re-listened to it in a while. I think that you said Solving for Death was better in the episode.
Oh yeah, I probably did, because if you recall, that was supposed to be Starlight Glimmer versus Twilight Sparkle battle, where I was on the side of Starlight Glimmer.
Yeah, so you just couldn't
I wanted to win.
You just couldn't face defeat, eh?
I could have liked it more at the time. I don't know. Going back and rewrite and writing this list, I liked Brief Reign of Princess Twily more. Really, they are very close, but I did decide to put this above it. It was adorable and heartwarming and funny.
That's fair.
For the next one, this was really surprising to me because Ross usually talks highly about this one, but Lone Black Train. I did put this one a lot higher than Ross did.
Well, I would have put it higher, but after thinking about it and the other stories, it just wasn't as interesting, I felt. But you go on.
I do remember Ross being particularly harassing during the recording. I need to point that out because that probably
I feel like there was another episode where that happened.
Story.
Was it this episode? I feel like there was another episode where that was like, I think it was the May Those Who Step Through This Door one, where I was particularly rude to you. The problem we had with this one was that you didn't get enough lines, and that was an accident. On my part, I'll be honest, but I did offer for you to read this one, so that was on you.
Yeah, this one I expected to be more of like a Lone Black Train vibe, but it didn't really deliver it as good as it could have. But I did feel like the writing for it was done really well, and I as a person who's not a fan of reading, I would not like reread this or anything. But I feel like this is great as an audio story. So, go back and listen to our podcast if you want to check it out.
You know what? That could be part of why I didn't like Lone Black Train as much as I thought I would have. Maybe I should just listen to the episode again. Who knows? So, number 21 for me is Roomies. Yeah, I forgot about this one when I said that we were done with the Sunset Shimmer stories. In terms of Sunset Shimmer, this one's great. Sunset Shimmer screen time, this has probably the most out of any we've done so far. Excluding Sunlight Sliders. But it's just, Sunset's so good. No, trying to think of what else to say about it. It's nice, I think.
Yeah.
It really is just like a nice, warm feeling I get. There's this special for the show called Rainbow Road Trip. It's completely different to the story, but what it does have is I get the warm fuzzies inside each time I re-listen or reread or whatever, rewatch that episode. So I really appreciate this one.
Yeah.
For being able to give me that just that feeling. Any feeling. I need something.
Yeah, I definitely agree about that feeling that it gives. It's just like sort of a very calming, happy feeling to that story.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, that one rant that Sunset goes
that
on.
One, yeah.
I just love the writing there. It feels cathartic to read.
I'd really dug that, yeah. But number 20 for me. Wizzy, you're gonna hate me for this. You're gonna think I'm the worst person of all time.
Definitely Public Boundaries.
Discord Teaches Philosophy. I was kidding.
Wow.
But this one I thought was gonna be higher. But we read a lot of good stories.
Yeah.
This one, in terms of our philosophical episodes, I really liked the philosophical debates, or philosophical discussion, I mean, in this episode, and in the story, rather. It was really interesting to read about. It was the first time I really understood Socrates.
Wasn't it Descartes?
I could be wrong. But Descartes and Socrates said a lot of the similar stuff. So, at the time when I was editing this, I was actually researching Socrates. So it very much was very similar in their studies, because I was looking at, I was doing philosophy and stuff like that. So yeah, this one in the editing was like a big old kick in the shin, because I was trying to do philosophy class, and then I have this fucking thing. It was still really funny, though. I really enjoyed it. And I always love a good philosophical story. So, yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that story was, I have a lot of good things to say about it, but I feel like I want to say more when I actually get to it on my list. But I will say that definitely one of the best philosophical stories we've read, especially because it's dealing directly with the education of philosophy.
Yeah. I think I prefer more philosophical discussions, which is why I prefer something like Plato's writings about Socrates compared to some later philosophical stuff. Because, like, when Plato wrote about Socrates, it was like a discussion. Because, let me tell you, those things can be funny. If read, like, if translated to modern day English. So otherwise it could be difficult to read. But when it's translated to modern day English, it's like Socrates lays down some serious shit, man. It's fucking hilarious. But later, like philosophical writings and stuff, it's just like they're talking and talking and talking, and I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, give me more. Tell a joke. Do something.
Which Discord is great at.
Yes, and that's why Discord Teaches Philosophy is one of the best philosophical readings to come out of the modern day.
Well, for my 23rd, 22nd?
Number 20.
Oh, wow. For my number 20, I've put down The Everash Project.
Ooh.
Now, that is by Short Skirts and Explosions, who is just great at delivering an aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
That is... It's like a great retelling of a story we never actually got to hear in the first place. It's like from Twilight's perspective of what went on and her telling the story of something that we weren't there for. And it does a great job of describing the scenery and delivering the aesthetic that it was going for. It is only like a one-off story, though, so it doesn't leave as much of an impression as some of the other stories on this list.
One of the most one-off stories we could have had.
Yeah.
It is very definitely ending.
I just feel like if I'd read that in multiple parts from the story that she was telling, it would have been higher up. But it does a great job at what it's doing.
I completely agree. I mean, I put it higher, but I completely agree.
But for my number 19, I've put Princess Celestia Gets Mugged.
Wow. Number 19?
Yeah.
You sing this one's praises a lot.
Oh, yeah. It's because it is the first multi-part story we read, so that's sentimental points right there. It was written really well. It was really funny. And the title alone is really eye-catching. Princess Celestia Gets Mugged.
It's got to be one of the most eye-catching ones we got.
Yep. And each chapter is like really good at cliffhanging, I feel like, because it just makes me want to read the next one even more.
Yeah, certainly. I've been reading Invincible and also watching the series because that's coming out. Actually, by the time this is uploaded, it might not be airing anymore, but I've been reading Invincible, and that's kind of the same thing. Each ending, you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta read more of this, man. It's a comic book, if you didn't know. That was turned into an animated series. Anyways, I just wanted to liken that to that because I wasn't going to say that about Princess Celestia Gets Mugged. So that was just a good point to talk about that. Anything else you wanted to say about that?
Nope, I'm good with that.
Awesome. You had some solid points there. But my number 19 is Simpler Times. I forgot about this one when we were talking about the most adorable ones.
That one I have a little bit higher up, but definitely one of the cutest.
It's really fucking cute. It, like the title suggests, it just is simple. It's it's very much you're not getting a lot out of it, but there is still substance there. But it's not like it adds to the story. But it in some ways the substance isn't needed. It just is it's just a very simple read. And it's just very nice and cute as fuck. Oh my god, I want to pinch little Twilight and Rarity's cheeks. I love them. But like the title suggests, it's just very simple, so not a lot to talk about.
Yep.
Number 18. A very funny story, one I have a lot of praise for. Continue?
Oh, Ross, that's so close to mine.
Damn it. I don't think we're going to get another one like that. Maybe.
I feel like we're gonna get
if you
some
agree
near the
with
end.
me on number 1. That's a hard
number 2.
Maybe. Or number 2, maybe. Who knows?
Oh, Ross, you're going to have a surprise number 1, ain't you?
Maybe. So Continue is very much enjoyable in almost every way it needs to be. My one gripe with it is, weirdly enough, even though I liked this part of it, is the ending.
Oh.
The last chapter of it, the epilogue, if you will, is like, it kind of drags out, if I'm being honest. It would work in, say, an animated setting, or a movie setting, or even a video game setting. I don't think it works in or an audiobook setting even. It could work. But when I'm reading it, I don't think it works as much. But other than that, though, it's one of the funniest things we've read. Which is a high, high bar, considering some other things we've read. I just really enjoy it. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's basically all I'm going to try to say for the rest of these. I just really enjoy it.
Well, definitely not the top ones, I hope. But yeah, I can agree with that. I do have some other points that I'll hit on when I get to that.
I certainly can't wait till you get to that one.
For my number 18, I put down Fluttershy's Extremely Odd Jobs. Now, that story was definitely one of the best episode-feely stories that we've read. It I don't watch the show, but it did seem to captivate the characters really well. And it was funny. It made me laugh. All her funny, odd jobs and whatnot. But as Ross was pointing out, we did find out afterward that the author had passed away, which really sucks.
Yeah.
Because that was like a really good story that I want to see more of from the author of.
Thankfully, the author does have other stories.
Yeah, we gotta read more of the those stories at some point.
Yeah. I know some other authors in the fandom who passed away after I had already read some stuff of theirs. And each time it's like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously death is always a bummer.
Yeah.
So it's just sad. But the story isn't, and the story is hilarious and fun and all that.
Yeah.
So your number 17.
My number 17. Continue.
Hey! Oh my god! You would never believe it. I just talked about that one.
Yeah, Continue was it was really interesting, and it gave me a new perspective on what could happen after we die. It was
Jesus
funny
Christ, this
and
is a philosophical
sad.
one.
It really wasn't philosophical as much as just gave me a new idea of something that could happen after we die.
It definitely
no one knows.
proposes a question rather than discusses it.
Yeah.
But I still felt like that still, in my opinion, counts as a philosophical question at the very least. Or a philosophical pondering.
Yeah. The ending, though, I really did like it. But I do agree with Ross that it sort of dragged on too long for the second chapter. It could have just been done in the one chapter and then hyped up the sequel, because it does sort of end on a cliffhanger, which I really want to read at some point.
Yeah.
We have to read the sequel to continue.
We will get to it. Who knows if that's the actual premise of it, if that thing, but it probably is if I had to guess. But yeah, something I didn't mention about Continued. It definitely takes the idea of it and runs with it. It enjoys its premise and ideas more than I think most of the ones on this list. So, mad props to it there. But yeah, is that all you have to say about it?
Yeah.
All right. Number 17 for me is The One That Would Never Come.
Ooh.
This one, Lyra Bond shipper all the way, baby. But it's more than that. It is far more than just a Lyra Bond ship. It is from this point on, every heartwarming one is just that's heartwarming, you know? And by heartwarming, I mean Christmas, yada yada. It makes me feel so excited for Christmas, and I love it. But these are so much more than that. It tells an interesting story of a couple who's got their problems with each other. That's a constant thing, weirdly enough, for Lyra Bonbon fan fiction. Is Lyra's got a problem, Bonbon hates her for it. But in the end, they're still either friends or roommates who are good friends, or lovers, girlfriends, and it's very sweet. I think by the end you're you know what? That's heartwarming. And also Santa's real, so Santa,
yeah,
confirmed.
The whole story of that for me is just really, really nice. So I'd have to agree. I pretty much agree with you on most of that, though I will touch back on it when I get to it.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait to hear what you think of it. Oh, something that's interesting about the one that never come. That would never come. It's the only heartwarming fan fiction that doesn't have the word heartwarming in it that we've read.
Oh.
I just thought that was funny. My number 16 is Forever Young. This one, it's everything Wizzy said, but more. Honestly, it was the philosophical debate in it that Rarity and Fluttershy have. Would you, if you could live forever, would you? If you could choose to live forever, would you? And could I have my friends and family live forever if I could, or whatever? And it touches on these topics, and it never definitively says what you should do. I'm glad that we got a definitive answer for Fluttershy in it. And by the end, it was sad, but happy, so I guess bittersweet. It was very nice. And like you said, warm, cozy, cover up by the fire. Let me tell you a story sort of thing.
Yeah. I felt like it did touch with that topic, but I just... the whole if you could live forever, would you isn't really... It doesn't really do it for me in that story.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they're exploring that question, then that should have been more focused on in the story and more gone into.
I mean, I understand that. I don't think that was the focus of it, but it was a primary reason why I enjoyed it.
Felt like it was more just around the relationship of Discord and Fluttershy, and I like it, but Not as much as some other stories.
Certainly not as much as I do.
Certainly not as much as Scribble. Number 16, Scribble. So it has really great storytelling. I feel like the pacing in it is perfect. And just like Continue, it gives a perspective on death, which I just really love how it deals with the way it does. I'm trying not to spoil too much of this if you couldn't tell.
Yeah.
But this is one of the ones that is definitely one of the saddest that I've read. One of the closest I've gotten to crying. In a fanfic.
Mm-hmm.
And the emotion of Daring Do is portrayed really well in this story.
Yeah. I have to, I just have to say I agree, but I got to touch on some things in mine. So that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But you can, your number.
My number 15, Dat Hive Mind.
It's only number 15. Okay.
Well, here's the thing. Dat Hive Mind is really funny, and it's like a perfect representation of what fan fiction should be.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets a big boost because of the way that me and Ross recorded that. That was one of the funnest recordings we've done. Mm-hmm. Even though Ross had to edit that, and I'm sure that was fun.
It was actually easier than I expected.
Nice.
A bitch, but it was easier than I expected. The hardest thing I've ever edited, but the easier than I expected.
I just feel like in story, it sort of just like lacks a bit of story. But like, I really don't have anything bad to say about it. It's just I feel like what I put ahead of it, I believe is better.
It's just, number 15, why not, hey? No, yeah, I can understand that. And in some ways, I agree. But with Princess Celestia
Number
gets mugged.
15, Burger King foot lettuce.
Oh my god, Wizzy. That was funny. That was so funny. That was the funniest thing you've ever done. So Princess Celestia gets mugged. Speaking of funny, it just is really funny. I fucking love Princess Celestia gets mugged. I don't know what else to say that Wizzy hasn't already said. It takes its premise. It's an amusing as fuck premise. And I enjoyed reading it. I enjoyed listening to it. I enjoyed editing it. Even though I didn't edit the second part, but that doesn't matter. No, the first part I didn't.
I had no clue what was going to happen when I started reading it.
Yeah.
But any way it would have went with how I expected.
You thought it was going to be darker.
Did it better.
Didn't you?
I said it could be darker. I have no clue where it's going. I was saying I kind of hope it makes me cry. And when it didn't, I was like, okay, but this is really funny.
It made you cry with laughter.
Princess Celestia gets mugged and is traumatized for life.
That would have been one of the most horrifying experiences that I've ever experienced in my life. Anyways. Number 14. One Heartswarming Eve. Again, going back to, niceness of the holiday and all that, but this one takes a much darker turn with it. This one is borderline depressing on occasion. It is depressing on occasion. So I really, and honestly, Chase being in this one, not in the episode, but in the story itself, that elevates it for me somewhat. But just the conversation between Chase and Pinkie Pie, and the way it ended so bittersweetly, it was just like, it made me tear up, and I'm shocked I don't have it higher, but I don't have it higher. But I love it dearly.
Yeah. I feel like with a lot of these going forward, we won't really have any criticisms to talk about.
Yeah, I have a few criticisms, I think, for a few coming up, but the content in those stories are just so good that I can't really, say that those criticisms could in any way tear it down.
Well, you might not like that I put this so high, but for my number 14, Dying to Get There.
Why wouldn't I like that? I'm glad that you're.
I put it ahead of
I'm glad that
things
you
like
enjoy it.
Hive Mind. Yeah, so that one is like really hilarious, and it has some really great Applejack worship. Mm-hmm. I'm an Applejack kind of guy. I love Applejack, and of course it has to be boosted really high from the fact that it's the first story we read, and I got nostalgia for it. Mm-hmm. But it really introduces myself to fanfiction, to femfiction. But that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
That's understandable. I enjoy the premise and runs with it, but it really isn't like much that you can say about it, which is such a shame because it's the first one we read.
Okay. For number 13, I have put Discord Teaches Philosophy. So that one has to have some of the best writing of a fan fiction that I've ever read.
It certainly does have some really good writing.
It's sort of like philosophy for babies, which is basically what Discord does in that. But anyone reading it can really get a lesson from it. Mm-hmm. And sort of like how what's it called? Which story was that? Were We the Bad Guys? That one sort of has a lesson that it's trying to teach. I feel like this one, the lesson that this one is trying to teach is put together a lot better. Mm-hmm. It really just reads so smoothly when you're reading through that.
It certainly was. It was really solid on that end. And you're right about the writing. Like, it was very solidly written, and I think I kind of glossed over that when praising it myself, but yeah, well. But that it?
Yeah.
Awesome. A very good story. My number 13 is Great Big Sky. Gorgeous is like what I can say for this one. It is, in terms of imagery, it has some of the best on this list, if not the best. And I'm pretty sure it was entirely about that imagery as well. I mean, it was based off of a picture that someone saw, or that Short Skirts and Explosions saw. So that makes sense. I think the painting with the mind it was just really good, I felt. And I want to congratulate Short Skirts and Explosions on that amazing feat.
I definitely agree with a lot of that, but I do think you're looking over some pretty great parts of that story that I'll get to when I get to
there
that.
is a lot of great stuff in the story. I just can't remember. So I was going to leave it to you.
Okay.
Because I know that you're probably going to praise that one high above the rest. So number 12. Number 12 is the Ever Ash Project. Of the Short Skirts and Explosions ones that we've read, the Ever Ash Project for me is higher above. Earlier in the episode that we're recording right now, I said that Eyes in the Trees, Bodies in the Leaves had the second scariest thing in something along those lines. And I said that Eyes in the Trees, Bodies in the Leaves had the second scariest thing in fanfiction that we've read. This one takes the cake. It might actually have the third scariest. But I'll get to that one later. This one takes the cake as the scariest for me. I am horrified at the thought of not knowing what's about to happen. It getting revealed to me. And then it happens and I die. Sudden, like, things that you just don't expect, like, happening to you. And, like, maybe it results in the end of the world. That's scary, man. Like, the world could blow up at any second. Fact. So it's like, Jesus Christ. Anyways, the Everash Project, fucking solid. Scary. I really like the conversation between Twilight and Starlight, even if we didn't realize it was Twilight and Starlight at first. We were way off with that, let me tell you.
Was it Starlight?
Yeah, it was Starlight.
I did not remember that.
But yeah, it was just so well written, in my opinion, and dark, but I really like the way that Twilight just talks about it, honestly, is what really puts this up here.
Yeah.
The way Twilight talks about, yep, we're gonna die. I know we're gonna die. It's gonna happen. Whatever. Fuck life, I guess. I just really like it. I think it's fun. Not fun, but like, I'm reading it fun. I don't know what I'm trying to say there. But yeah.
Yeah. I get that you would view that one as like a really good horror one. I just did not see that as horror. I saw it more as like...
let me put it this way. One of the scariest games I've played is Plaguing.
I've never played that.
I do play a lot of like horror games and all that, but
oh wait, was that the game where you like make the diseases that spread?
Yeah. Plague Inc. like freaks me out in a weird way, and I don't know why. I love playing it, but it's like, oh, the world is dying, and I'm doing this. That's not what's happening in the Everash Project. Oh, one thing about the Everash Project I don't like. Basically makes Celestia the bad guy. I'm sorry. That's why it didn't get higher, I'll be honest.
I really don't get that criticism.
It's a dumb criticism.
And I put it a lot lower.
No, because, like, you know me. Celestia, top dog. She's always good. She's always a good... No, I'm kidding. That criticism was a joke.
Yeah, I think I get all of your praise for it, but they're just have some of the stories that you've chosen might be a bit higher on mine for aesthetic purposes that I would not give the same critical acclaim to the Everash Project.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say it's bad by any measure, but, you know.
I mean, okay. Fine. I don't care. Oh, I don't care.
So,
Your number 12?
My number 12. Simpler Times.
Ah.
Now that one definitely gets like major cute points, like second cutest story we've read.
Mm-hmm. God, it's cute.
It's just fun to read. I had a great time reading it on the podcast, and it has like some of the best artwork, of course, for any of the stories that I've seen on Fanfiction.
It's a great comic. I love it. It's a simple comic too.
Yep. And really, there isn't much to say about it, but
it's simple.
Yeah. My number 11 is One Hearth's Warming Eve.
Ooh. Ah.
That one is just a beautiful depiction of a wondrous world like My Little Pony, still having issues like poverty and stuff. And it shows how issues like that can really be alleviated just by caring about strangers more, caring about people you see, and not being a total jerk to them.
Yeah.
And of course it still had chase and stuff, which I loved.
Yeah.
But
and also Terrible Cold.
Oh man, that was the first introduction of Terrible Cold.
Yep, still waiting for that fan art.
Someone make it.
Come on. I'm sure you can think of what he looks like. No, no one listens to this.
And I think it had a great depiction of the Pinky Promise.
Mm-hmm. Solid depiction of the Pinky Promise, surely. It was a nice one.
So that is my number 11. What is yours?
Oh, well, my number 11 is actually Dad Hive Mind.
Oh, there we go.
And I'll be honest, this one probably is just so high up because of... God, I loved recording this. Holy shit, this recording was so good. It's so much fun. But, like, this recording was so fun that even though it was one of the most difficult things I ever edited, at least on the podcast, I didn't care because it was just that fun. And to me, it just keeps going on. Like, it's ridiculous. But I understand what's happening. And it's like a continuous level of, oh, holy shit, this is happening now. And I love it. I just think it's so funny. And
yeah,
not the funniest, though. We'll get to that.
Oh, boy.
My number 10 is public boundaries.
Screw you.
I'm sorry, Wizzy. I love this story.
Not for your placement, but just first calling it public bathroom.
No, I know. I fucking love this story a lot. Upon re-listening to it, it's really good. And I did not give it the light of day when we were first, like, doing it. Even though I was like, this is a really good story and all that. The way it depicts this, the relationship between Flash and Goatee Man, whatever his name is, it's just so solidly done. And even the struggles that they have, and like, what You Two Are What did, that was such a confusing statement thanks to the name of that story. But You Two Are What tried to do somewhat of the, like, problems that some homosexual people or people in homosexual relationships, like, experience. But Public Boundaries just did, like, the sort of, like, I don't want to call it discrimination because it wasn't discrimination so much in this story, but it was like, which one was the, like, which one had the father that died? I can't remember which one that was. No, it was,
oh yeah, that was Sunburst.
Yeah, Sunburst, Goatee Man. Yeah, I think it presented a very clear, Sunburst's father probably wouldn't have been happy, but at least Sunburst is happy, and the freaking, like, they're so cute together.
Yeah.
Like, I don't ship this. I actually kind of do ship Brayburn and Soren. I think they would actually make a cuter couple. But I really like these two together. At the very least, in this story. I think it's a very good story.
From the way that you were comparing this to You Two Are What earlier, I thought you were going to rank this lower.
No,
I'm really glad you didn't.
No. The only reason I was comparing it was because it did what I did not like. It did really great what I did not like about You Two Are What.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my number 10. I can't wait to hear what you think of it. You're probably placing it at number 1. I can feel it now.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Or number 2.
But for my number 10, I've chosen...
Public Boundaries.
6 characters have henceforth found a point and are now trying to do something with... I forget.
6 characters have henceforth found a point
and are now
trying to figure out what to do with it.
Yeah. So, it could just be because it's playing off the comedy from the original 6 characters, which was really good. Mm-hmm. But I really did like how she did that with like the counterparts to the main characters from the original 6 characters being like put into this, and like the return of the paint thinner and stuff. I found it really funny.
Don't get me wrong, I thought it was really funny too. I just didn't think it was funny enough. But you go on if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, I found that one really funny.
Okay. Well, that's good. Funny is good.
But did I find my number 9 funnier? No.
Did you?
Because
my number 9 is...
Because my number 9 is the one that would never come.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely not funnier.
Yeah, that one, for being a Christmas one, I did not try and rank it based off Christmas nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too hard for this one. This one was like really, really cute and cuddly and warm. It was like
it really was.
It was also like a beautiful depiction of like loving someone and having baggage that comes with it.
Mm-hmm.
And she was obviously very like cruel to Lyra or Bon. Which one was Lyra and which one was Bon?
Lyra, mint green unicorn who, believes in Santa Claus.
Okay, yeah. Lyra, she was like really
real,
cruel
by the
to
way,
her
kids.
For something that wasn't as bad as she was dealing with it as. And I love having that lesson in there too.
Yeah, that's certainly understandable.
Like being able to deal with, even if you don't like it, being able to deal with the baggage that someone might have because you love them.
Yeah. I do wish that I had touched on that because, well, I was thinking about that, but I couldn't figure out how to really put it into words. But you put that into words eloquently, I must say. I do enjoy that. Clink. Great story. My number 9, definitely a lot less funny than 6 characters have henceforth found a point and are now trying to figure out what to do with it.
To try for the sun.
And also a lot less funny than the one that would never come. The most depressing story on this fanfiction, on this list, To Try for the Sun.
I was right. It was To Try for the Sun.
Yep. Even over I Fluttershy, this one, good God. It has a happy ending, but holy shit. It just keeps knocking you down. And you're just like, Jesus Christ, will it ever get happy? And I knew what happened at the end of it, is the thing.
Oh, had you read it prior to our recording?
No.
Okay.
I just knew that was what had to have happened in the story.
Yeah. Because,
yeah. But it's just like, wow, this is just depressing. How can, like, people live like this? And obviously, like, oof, it gave me a sort of perspective on, like, people with rough living conditions and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. People who can't go out of those rough living conditions, even though in the story they did. But, like, when the ending, when it gets happier, it's like, thank you. Thank you, God.
Yeah, that one is so good at that.
It just feels so good, the ending, that it lifts my heart. But even though I'm like, it's so depressing, sometimes I just can't deal with it. And it does the depressing stuff in such a way that it still is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the depressing stuff is like, wow, that's like really dark. But it works well. They write it so well that it's like, wow. Moon Soldier Dan, one of my favorite fan fiction authors. I fucking love them.
What else did he make?
Daybreaker.
Oh my God, those I should have realized those are totally same vibe.
Yeah.
Same writing style.
Yeah, I love this one. It's understandable if you can't like stomach a lot of this though. If like someone in the audience can't stomach a lot of this, just listen to ours. We make jokes in it.
We're like, ha ha, look at the poor people.
Oh, they don't even have the sun. But yeah, it has a lot of messages in it, or like a lot of points it makes in it that are really good too. And I love it. Depressing, but in the end, it didn't matter because it was just that well written, just that good. And when that ending comes, you're so goddamn thankful that it ends like that. If it didn't end like that, it would probably be lower. I'm talking like halfway down the list lower. Nah, probably not. 5 spaces down the list. I don't know. Number 8 is Scribble. Just what Wizzy said. Like, wow, it's hard for me not to talk about this because at this point in the list, I'm trying not to spoil things. At least if spoilers matter. And here the spoilers really matter. It's like my screen keeps going black, understandably so, because I'm not moving my mouse, but still, it's annoying. Daring Do and Brayburn is a relationship I didn't expect but now need in my life. I loved their interactions in it, and just the way it deals with death is harsh. And it's a kick in the teeth, dude. But it is good at what it did. So yeah, Scribble is just solidly fantastic for me.
Yeah. And even though the ending isn't exactly happy, it's like happy enough, I guess. It gives you closure to the story really well.
Yeah, to me it brushes the line just under bittersweet.
Mm-hmm.
Not the fan fiction, but the mood.
Now,
it's not that great.
Speaking of apples, Great Big Sky is my number 8. It's another great story by Short Skirts and Explosions. It just really captivates the feeling of freedom and the unknown, and like a type of unknown that's not scary, but like you want to be going into it.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that makes sense from the picture. And there are there are points that have like a great portrayal of emotion from like the conversation between Applejack and Granny Smith, that I feel like it really does a good job of like, I don't know how to put that into words. It's just like their conversation there is really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And it also has like something that I wish Ross had pointed out when he was reviewing it, was the message of like not working yourself to death and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I do wish I had mentioned that.
Yeah, I feel like it does a really good job of teaching that lesson through storytelling from Applejack's perspective.
Yeah. You know, good point with the storytelling thing. Something I think I'm just realizing now, I like when stories get meta. So, like, when it discusses storytelling through storytelling, that's big for me, man. I'm just now realizing.
Does it do that?
Technically, yes. Okay. With the way that you worded that, yes. It does.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else to say on it?
Really great story. I definitely recommend it.
Mm-hmm. Your number 7.
But not as much as I'd recommend to Try for the Sun. It's really just one of the most uplifting fanfics.
Yeah.
Like, the feeling of I'm not in their place is really good to know.
Yeah. Indeed. Oh,
It's like
preach.
one of the most depressing fan fictions on here. Though I don't know, depressing maybe the most. Definitely not the saddest,
No.
but like the most tragic, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. It like almost gives me the same feeling as Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh God, that one. Yeah. This one ended happier.
Yeah, that's something that I feel like this actually did better than Grave of the Fireflies, although I'd have to say I still enjoyed Grave of the Fireflies more.
Grave
This
of the
one,
Fireflies might be my favorite Miyazaki. I haven't seen all of them, but
this one's
Miyazaki?
ending
Yeah.
just made it all okay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is just as probably beating a dead horse at this point, but just really, really does well.
Yeah. I agree. Good on it. Is that all?
Yeah.
Yeah. I probably talked that one to death, I'll be honest. Number 7. This one might be too low, but no, I'm happy with my other placements. Number 7 is The Only Day. God, it's such a good fanfic. I love this fanfiction. The way it plays with the Groundhog Day trope. It's sad as fuck. And like, it's just like, oh, what's happening in it? It's so good, though. I love it. It's so good. I can't say much about what I like most about it, which is the last third. But that last third is real good. Real solid. And you should definitely all go watch it. Or listen to our podcast. Or read the thing. In fact, just read the thing. And then listen to our podcast about it. If you haven't yet. But that's me. What about you, Izzy?
Yeah, that one.
Mm-hmm.
I just like randomly picked that out at one point when we were about to start recording.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god. It blew me away. I will say more about it.
You picked it out. And the funny thing, you read the description to me, and I was like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. I didn't know what was happening in it. Even though you read the description, even though the description kind of gives it away.
Yeah.
I was still surprised.
Yeah, I will talk more about that when it gets to my list, though.
I just wasn't listening in, apparently. But, yeah. Anyways.
But what is your number 6?
Well, that's a good question. My number 6 is Dear Sweetie Belle.
Wow. That's really up high.
Yeah, it is. I still love this one, after all this time. It's certainly due to nostalgia. At least somewhat due to nostalgia. But I still think it's just really solid. I love Rarity's character in it. This was the first time in any My Little Pony thing where I was actually like, oh, I like Rarity in this. And the idea of Sweetie Belle being Rarity's daughter has been toyed around with in a few different My Little Pony things. Friendship is for Adults is one of the more prominent ones. But I think this one really does a really solid job at doing that idea of it. Don't you dare. Sorry, I'm talking to my cat. Oh, careful. Okay, there you go. Thank you. He was about to claw the crap out of me. On accident, of course, because he's a good boy. He wouldn't do that on purpose, but, anyways, I love the way it's written. I don't know, just something about this. It really got me to think. I don't know about what, but it got me to think. And I just enjoy it a lot. I don't know. Maybe that shouldn't put it at so high on the list, but it just is. I don't know what else to say.
It definitely is good. I just didn't take away as much as I did with the ones that I've put so high.
Mm-hmm. Understandable. Your number 6, my dear fellow?
My number 6 would be A Hearth's Warming Carol.
Ah.
Oh boy. So, Heartswarming Carol. Said it wrong.
Yeah, that one's weird.
That is the best holiday fic we've read. It has
100%.
amazing character writing. Especially because it's like solely original characters, OCs. Like, if you're writing someone else's character, that character is basically already designed for you. But this person designed these characters so well that it really shows you their personalities perfectly. And it's sad, heartwarming, and has a perfect Christmas message. Like, it delivers the message better than a lot of holiday specials I've seen.
Yeah. I'm just like, preach.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about it. Oh, and also the epilogue chapter is really good. I love that they wrapped that part up.
Yeah. So, then number 5, was he?
My number 5 is The Only Day.
The Only Day?
The Only Day. The day that's only this day.
Oh, that day.
Yeah.
Okay.
This gets down to the 5 best fics that I have in the toppest tier. It's like, as Ross said, it's a perfect take on the whole Groundhog Day trope. But the writing, it keeps me completely focused throughout the entire fanfiction, which is pretty difficult for me to do when I'm reading stuff. But it's really captivating. Just wondering what's going to happen next day, each day with this character. And then showing how it eventually all comes together is truly tragic and beautiful and just really, really nice.
Yeah. I gotta say, there's another fanfiction that, another famous fanfiction in the My Little Pony community called Hard Reset. It uses the Groundhog's Day trope as well. People praise that one a lot. I think that The Only Day did Groundhog's Day better, but we're definitely going to have to read Hard Reset at some point.
All right. But you know how I feel about reading fan fictions you've already read.
I don't care.
I prefer to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah, me too. That's why we're going to read that one minimally. I don't know.
Well, what's your number 5?
Well, my number 5 is 6 characters in search of a point.
Ooh, that's already just down to number 5.
Yep. 6 characters in search of a point is so funny. It's just the ultimate display of random in this fandom, and it doesn't even use Discord. It's whacked out of its mind. You don't understand it, but it still does it so well and so fucking hilariously that I'm just like, it's so good. It's really funny. Not a whole lot to say other than the gags or laugh out loud. And eventually, do they find that point? I suppose you'll have to read it or listen to our episode for yourself. Not you, Izzy. You know.
Actually, yeah, basically, I agree with everything that Ross said, though I will go ahead and say some stuff for myself when I get to that on my list. But what do you have for number 4?
Well, for number 4 is, in my opinion, the funniest comedy fic we've read. A Hell of a Time.
Boy.
I cannot describe the comedic genius that is A Hell of a Time enough. It's just so much fun to just read the dialogue in this story. In terms of dialogue, if you ask me, this one had some of the most solidly written dialogue in any of the stories that we've read, except for maybe my number 1. I really think that it's hilarious. It doesn't serve a single point, and that's part of the joke. It's just so funny. I love it. Not much you could say about it, except for the fact that it is just really funny. And also, I got to use my harmonica in the episode.
Yeah. I'm having trouble figuring out Ross's number one. I feel like I might know it.
Maybe.
Yeah,
maybe not.
I'll talk about A Hell of a Time when I get there. But for now, I have my number 4. I have my number 4 set at A Moment's Worth. That is the saddest story we have read. It's the closest I've been to crying at a friggin' fanfiction. And it's like a great tale of like someone dealing with a dying loved one. And it like does a great job of teaching the reader how to deal with grief. I feel like the discussion between Celestia and Twilight in that fic is really good.
Yeah. Preach, son. Preach.
Like, man, I'm going to be going back to that one over and over. So you have anything to say?
I'll say when I get to it, I guess.
Okay. Well,
nothing about what you said.
I do have my number 3 set. Public boundaries.
What? No. No.
Oh. Now this one gets major gay points.
Wizzy, it's gay. How could you betray gay like this?
Because the final one is even gayer. The number 1 that I have set.
Fair enough, I guess.
This is definitely the best romance fic that we've read. By far.
Certainly.
The romance is like written so believably. It really shows you their feelings for each other. It's like, oh, and by the way, this is the only reason that I said Simpler Times wasn't the cutest fic we read. This is.
Brains.
It's like, what?
No, I was just stupid joke.
Yeah, so it's like a really great relatable story of a gay guy being afraid to show his boyfriend affection in public. And like the first person, I think that's first person perspective suits that really well. And it just, the story makes me want them to have a good ending. And I'm really glad that it does.
Yeah. It's a really good one. It's a really, really good story. Shoot, I was going to talk about something that you mentioned. And I can't remember it. You know what? The relatability. I don't think it would have worked had it not been gay.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say that. That is truly the way they do make it relatable. Like, if it was, I don't know, Sunburst and Starlight, it would have been good, but it just wouldn't have made sense like it does with Sunburst and Flash.
Yeah. It's like, it's a pretty it's an issue that's pretty unique to gay people.
Yeah.
Of not wanting people to see that you're gay while you're in public.
You know, the whole you gay thing. You get me, hetero people.
Oh my god.
But yeah. That's a solid one. I can't deny. So, number 3 for me. That was your number 3, right? Yeah, that was your number 3.
Yep.
Oh, I'm so glad that I'm going to be the number 1. The last one to talk about a fan fiction. My number 3 is I Daybreaker.
Oh shoot. You haven't talked about I Daybreaker yet, huh?
Surprise! I love how this one is written. And it's certainly the most Celestia-based one we've had yet. So big ups there. Jokes aside, I think I just think that the relationship between Celestia and Daybreaker is so powerful, because when we compare it to Luna and Nightmare Moon was able to break Luna to being like evil and stuff like that. And when Daybreaker tries to, like that, the whole Nightmare Moon thing wasn't explored, but that's basically what I got out of it at the very least. But when Daybreaker does this to Celestia, the way that Celestia is just so strong-willed, not able to be broken, but they still have like a weird relationship together. Like Daybreaker in the show, for how little she was in, Daybreaker was completely mad. But the way that Daybreaker presents her is a very calm, much more calm sort of way than that. But you still understand her motives compared to someone like Nightmare Moon's. Obviously, Daybreaker is in the wrong, but we still get it more, at the very least. But I just fucking love this story. I fucking love Celestia's conversations with Daybreaker and Celestia herself. Praise be. I love the writing, the dialogue, all of that. I love Daybreaker.
Yeah.
Number 2, A Heartswarming Carol. Heartswarming Carol. Look, guys, I could only not be nostalgic for so long. And this one I did read when I was younger, I'll be honest. But that's not why it's so high up. It, as Wizzy said, it's easily the best holiday episode we've had. And it just, the way it explores that holiday and discusses it in such a way that it makes you're thinking obviously about A Christmas Carol, one of the best, if in my opinion the best Christmas story of all time, A Christmas Carol. But this one does it in such a way where it's not a carbon copy of A Christmas Carol like so many other adaptations. It's hard to even call it like inspired by at times, even though it very much is. A Heartswarming Carol is just, it's nice and calming in a lot of its conversation. And what Wizzy said about the fact that they're OCs doing this and we're still caring about these characters, we still enjoy what it is. I think it makes it really powerful compared to, let's say, I don't know, another fan fiction, except for my number 1. So I love A Heartswarming Carol. I read it every year. And hopefully
I'm definitely going to be
many more years to come. Yep.
Definitely going to go back to our episode of that podcast come this Christmas.
Mm-hmm. And let me tell you, listening to it on Christmas Eve, thank you so much for editing that, by the way, Wizzy, and getting it out on time. You're one of the best people of all time. But listening to it on Christmas Eve was really like, wow. I just... gives me the warm fuzzies. I love it.
For my number 2, Ross probably wasn't expecting this. My Immortal.
That is an interesting choice. Not expecting that at all.
The truth is, I'm probably more of a comedy lover than Ross. So the fact that A Hell of a Time leaves such an impact is truly a testament to its comedy.
Truly.
It's just, you laugh throughout the entire reading of it. It's obviously understandable why it's the number one comedy on Fanfiction.
Oh, it is. At least completed. And, like, under 6,000 words.
Yeah, it's like the characters probably are nothing like they are in the show, but they are playing off of each other so well that it makes this that much funnier.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Yeah.
You're like, yeah.
Like, not technically OCs, but the writer really makes them their own.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd have to say that my number one is probably funnier. Well, maybe not funnier, but 6 characters in search of a point. It makes me laugh more often. Probably like just as hard, but more often than A Hell of a Time does.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the sheer randomness, the design of the characters. And it's just like A Hell of a Time does, where it makes the characters their own creation. And the way it takes you through basically Twilight's fever dream is just hilarious. And while we were recording it, I do remember, I believe this was the one where Ross had to do the really quick spewing rant from Twilight.
Yes. Holy shit,
That just made it all the funnier.
That was so good.
So that's my number one.
That's an
Now
understandable
I'd like to hear
one.
you go off on your number one.
Quick aside about the comedy in both A Hell of a Time and 6 characters in search of a point. I think A Hell of a Time goes above 6 characters in search of a point because I'm more into dialogue-based comedy than random, just randomness, I guess, like 6 characters. Even though both do what they do extremely well. I do personally prefer just the dialogue in A Hell of a Time.
Yeah, random humor is like really hard to get done right, especially like today.
Oh yeah,
after it's already been done to death 1,000 times. But that one is really good at it.
6 characters does it amazingly well. Yeah, I definitely have to commend it on that. But for my number one, you probably are able to guess it by now. But A Moment's Worth.
I'm surprised.
No, I'm kidding. It's My Immortal.
Oh yeah, number one.
Ebony Dark Dementia Raven Way is just such. It's such an interesting character. No, A Moment's Worth, obviously. When dealing with death, and I have dealt more with death this past year than I ever have in my life, it really got me to think about how I live and my thoughts on death. Death scares the shit out of me. But this fan fiction helped me think about it in a different way. Even though you're not immortal like Twilight and Celestia, even though this fan fiction deals with immortality facing death, it does it in a relatable way where you yourself, even though you're not immortal, you still are feeling for it. This fan fiction, honestly, when I was editing it, it got me to cry. I didn't cry immediately in it, but it really, it's just so good in how it presents just the conversation between Twilight and Celestia. I think their discussion on death is such a powerful, like, read of it. And
yeah,
it gets me each time I listen to it. And I've listened to it 5 times.
Oh my god.
So it's definitely a solid solid moment of your time. I would recommend going to it at least once, and it doesn't, something I love about it, it doesn't say who the dying friend is. We talked about how we were kind of disappointed it doesn't say. That's because it didn't matter, and that I feel like is so important to this story. Because no matter who it is, it still hurts.
Yeah. That's something that I picked up on when I was like re-listening to it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like actually putting yourself in her shoes and imagining that as anyone in any of your loved ones, you'd probably have the same reaction that she had, where it's just like, it would be incredibly difficult no matter what. And it's just such a sucky situation that I think it really helps you explore the thought process of.
Yeah. I love it so much. It's just good. And it means... It's weird saying that it means a lot to me. Because I only just read it, like, a few months ago. But just thinking back on it, it is so powerful to me that I'm happy that I read it at all.
Yeah.
So, I have more to say on it, but we've been going for 3 hours, 15 minutes, guys. And now 3 hours, 16 minutes. So
Austin 316!
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this. If you've sat down and listened to all of it, thank you. I think we might as well put the timestamps in the description if we really care to when this goes up, because it's long and people just want to know. Let's face it, people just want to know the number one.
The thing about a lot of these is these are like one-off stories, but so many of them can be so powerful.
Yeah.
And that's just amazing.
That really is incredible. I'm so happy that we're doing this. I wouldn't have read almost any of these stories if we weren't. And this just makes me happy.
So glad that we can actually get to the 50th episode of this podcast so far.
Here's to 50 more, baby.
Hopefully, we can keep going. 50 more, we'll probably we could do another one of these for the 100th episode. But hopefully by then, we've actually picked up a little more traction and have some more people viewing the podcast. But to anyone who actually has been viewing this entire time,
thank you.
Caffeinated Pinky, thank you so much.
That wasn't the entire time, but whatever. Thank you. I love you.
Like Sammy and Caffeinated Pinky, those are our loyal followers.
Yeah. Unlike Chase, who bowed out after an episode.
I wonder if you'll even get this far.
Probably.
Hey Chase, if you're watching this, type grapefruit in the chat.
You know what? If anyone just made it this far, typed grapefruit in the chat, I'm really curious. On YouTube. I want to stress, this is also on YouTube. Don't type on Apple Podcasts. I think that one has the comments thing. I won't read it. Or no, it has.
All right, I think that wraps everything up for this episode.
Yeah. Wizzy, cheers. Here's to 50 more, baby.
Yeah.
Clink. Take us out with your classic everyday Wizzy line.
Bye.
Bye. Ha. Let me just take a drink of water. Hello, Wizzy. How are you doing today? That's perfectly fine, Wizzy.
Sorry, I was taking a drink of water at the same time.
Oh my god, we're like twins.
Eee.
I found our ending gag.